he did a good job, all things considered. Cammy can't have bad matchups. Apparently, this is one of them. I wasn't too sure about that till this step. So people saying Cammy can't have bad matchups. This might be one of them. And Momi was struggling. I mean, the way he got to that 2-2 moment was due to his confirms, right? He had very clutch, like low forward to drill super confirms, and very clutch moments where he would, get those like fierce punch moments to confirm into something. So the only way he was actually getting that damage to even keep this competitive was with the confirms. But then at the end, when it went down to 2-2, Momi did something that I thought he threw in the hat. I thought he threw in the towel. I thought he was done. He went to character select. He went to character select. And then when the match came back, they don't show you what's going on in character select. They just show the next round starting. I saw Nash on the screen. And I thought, when I saw that, Momi's my boy, but I literally thought that was equivalent to him pulling the plug. I had zero confidence at first. And you know what? I guess he proved me wrong, right? I don't know how you felt about that, but that was my initial gut reaction, was this is going to be bad. And that first round, it was bad. It was a wash.
Yeah, honestly, in football, they call that right there a Hail Mary. That's exactly what happened there, bro. You just brought up how amazing Reinhardt's anti-airs were against that Cammy, right? A character who has way better options, of course, in the air than a Nash, for example. She changes her trajectory. She's probably the best character in the game as far as her aerial approach, and he anti-air everything. Now, this is a very teachable moment right here. Reinhardt's anti-airs were not close to as good against Nash. And the reason is because he was confused. As far as, he clearly, I don't think there's any way to debate the fact that if that Nash pick threw him for a loop, and he did not seem as studied, as practiced in that matchup. Looking at the way that Reinhardt approached it overall, you see he did a whole lot of jumping at Momi, being extremely aggressive, and it was paying off for him to some degree. Like, Momi had to make a good comeback in round 2, if I remember correctly.
Right. But
sometimes just going and throwing that curveball is enough to get you a win. It is risky though, because the muscle memory that Momi has with, when you're in clutch situations, tight situations, it's kind of like right now, if someone threw a ball at your face or something like that, or you naturally are your body's gonna block or try to move out the way. Even if you didn't know it was coming, you're gonna try to at least, right? That's muscle memory and, just a natural thing with your subconscious mind. So ideally in clutch situations, you want to have that muscle memory, but we've seen another trainer think in there with him going with that Nash pick, man. And I think if you put that Nash versus Sagat, Momi versus Reinhardt in a 1st to 10, give me Reinhardt personally.
Right.
But
he had a strategy. He had a 1st to 1 strategy.
Yeah, bro. The way he ended it was with like dash, and whatever that move is where Nash jumps at
the tragedy assault.
The tragedy assault. He did dash, tragedy assault, bro.
But before that, I definitely agree with everything you're saying about that pick is crazy because you have to have the muscle memory. You have to be comfortable enough to do it. But when he went into that match, he had a 1st to 1 strategy. So you're right. He was down. That first round was a wash. All he did that first round was absorb the fireballs with V-Skill 1 from Nash. And I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. You're going to keep absorbing, nullifying the fireball game. And then he even tried using the V-Trigger early. He got the V-Trigger within 20 seconds, barely getting hit. He popped the V-Trigger when Sagat throws a fireball, teleport behind him. But he missed. The first one he missed, so it didn't work out. And then he just got thrown out of his pressure. It was slop, right? But you could sort of see what's going on there. The second round, this is the first one now, so he's down a round. He's down 50% life. He's about to be eliminated from the tournament. Then finally, it starts coming together, right? He gets the V-Trigger activates. He gets the punish on the fireball, and you see the strategy. You absorb the fireballs with the V-Skill. That means once you have the V-Trigger locked and loaded, any fireball that Sagat throws, you press 2 buttons, you teleport behind him, and you get a punish. And then that lets you, when he can't throw fireballs, suddenly you can throw more fireballs, and you can contest more in the fireball game. So suddenly the strategy started coming together, and yeah, it wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but it was a 1st to 1 strategy. And what I love about that is that you do not need to be the best with your character or a character to win. You can have a totally limited view of a character because this character is a tool that I use to win in this matchup. It's not my main. It's not something that I play all the time. I'm not trying to perfect every aspect of it. I'm trying to find the most efficient route to victory. Here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Here's a tool. Let me use exactly the tools I need to win. And that's what Momi did. Because
are you saying that characters are functions?
Oh well, listen. Let's not maybe go there. Maybe Momi loves Nash personality. You know, maybe they share some common interest there. Maybe there's some of that connection on a deeper level. But yeah, that said, he wasn't using all the Nash specialty. It wasn't like watching Ronaldinho in Brazil using Nash. Like that guy was a Nash specialist, right? Momi had Nash as a character in his pocket to win this matchup. And once he got over, like, you know, the wobbles there, once you're kind of getting your bearings together for that match, he showed that the strategy worked, and he could have ended it in cleaner fashion. I don't know if you saw that the last round. He threw a Sonic Boom, and Ryan had neutral jumped and landed on it. He could have, like, supered and closed it out right then. But that's like a Nash specialist thing, to be ready in that clutch moment. So true. Instead, like you mentioned, he got that knocked out, did double dash, point blank tragedy assault, which is the Hail Mary. Like what it does is it beats throw tech basically, right?
Yeah.
But it
probably
blocked,
backdash.
Or throw tech and backdash, maybe jump away, like anything. It might beat a button too, but
it's like Kieran's Rasenha, medium Rasenha.
Right. It's a high risk option which beats the opponent when they don't block. That's what it is, right? So if Reinhardt had blocked, he might have lost the whole tournament right then and there. Yeah. But he knew to go for it because he knew Reinhardt was uncomfortable and wasn't going to block, and then he pulled out that win. And all props to Momi in that situation. I countered him out. I thought he rage quit. I seriously thought it was a rage quit. When I saw a Cammy player go to Nash,
you said doo-doo.
That was what my mind said verbatim. So he proved me wrong, and shout out to Momi for showing that he's not just a Cammy player, he's a Street Fighter 5 player and a tournament competitor. But that said, you know, these two players, I would say they're kind of like equal skill level, right? Like Reinhardt, Momi. Reinhardt's kind of an OG, a legend of the scene, one of the best fighting game players, period, of all time. Momi, one of the strongest in Europe for a while now, and I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them won that set. But sometimes we have these things called upsets in brackets. And you know why they're called upsets? Because the better player didn't win. Because sometimes the better player doesn't always win.
But does it mean so the question would be, does the better player always win? And you know what? But what about on the day? Like we all know upsets happen, but I think there's another line of thinking. I remember me and Rushdown were debating with Burkish about this to the core. Like Burkish, I love you, man. I just hate your opinion on this topic so much. Like the way Burkish feels is that if someone beats you that day, even if you'll beat them 9 times out of 10, they were better than you on that day. To me, it's true that it's possible for that to happen, for you to just outplay someone and be the better player on that day. But sometimes you can play what I would consider, bro, some people are going to try to kill me over this stuff, bro. Some people who love the random play and they feel like the pro players are always trying to downplay when they lose and stuff. But if you play a strategy that's very that can lead to consistent long-term wins, right? You make decisions like, let's say someone goes for every time they have meter, they wake up with DP every single time for the whole match, and it hits every time, or whatever. For example, of course, this is an extreme example. It's hyperbole. Like, why don't you just start blocking then, or X, Y, Z? But if that gets you to win in these situations, right? That does not mean that it's gonna get you to win over the course of even 2 tournaments or even a few rounds in a tournament, let alone an entire pro tour or NLBC series or things of that nature. And that's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. And you generally speaking should have some type of a reasoning behind the options that you're doing, not for someone else. Listen, you should have reasoning not so that you can please someone else, because no matter what your reason it is, some people are going to be salty, people are going to downplay your win, people are going to make excuses. Forget about them. You don't need to say what your reason is. For yourself, you need to understand why you're doing things so that you can replicate it the next time you play this person or the next time you play against this character. But a lot of times people are doing things and they are winning or losing and don't know why they're winning or losing down to a T, and that's why we have so much inconsistency with some players.
Right. I like that you mentioned repeatable success, because you as a player, it's kind of like you're always revising on yourself, right? And if you don't understand the feedback from your wins and losses, there's no way for you to move forward. So that's very true. Like people want repeatable success, and sometimes the better player just doesn't win, and it sounds like a scrub quote, I'm going to be honest, and people are going to take it that way, but you got to really hear it out, because sometimes that stuff happens. I mean, like I said, I open it up, upsets happen. Like sometimes I've beaten players in bracket that I would not consider myself better than, but you can definitely beat players who are better than you. That's just a fact, right? Like, I think as a competitive player, when you bring up the Burkish example, saying, even if you beat them 9 times out of 10, they're better on that day. I feel like that's more of the competitive mindset that you have to be able to accept your losses, right? It's if you remove yourself from the situation and you're like, if you're being an analyst or a commentator, you could approach it differently. But as a competitor, I think it's a really healthy mindset to have, so you don't lose your mind when that guy that you always beats you that day, because maybe you made these mistakes, and you got to address those mistakes. Overall, you might be a more skilled and consistent player, but that doesn't mean you're immune to making mistakes or immune to losing, and that doesn't downplay the person's success for beating you in that matchup. But I mean, it happens all the time. Sometimes the player makes an upset and they immediately lose to right after, and then the player who they beat goes through losers and wins the tournament. You know how many times I've beaten Punk twice in tournament, once online, once in person. Does that make me better than Punk? Hell no. He's beaten me at least 400 times. Okay, maybe I should use this logic and say I must have been the better player than Punk, right? But here's the other stat. Those 2 times I beat Punk in tournament, he won the tournament.
Man, bro. And
each time I put him in losers, he's won the tournament or eliminated me in losers soon after, right? So maybe I got that one set, but what does that mean in the long run? Sure, I'm proud that I got that one set, right? But I need to be able to repeat it. It doesn't matter if you win right then. That doesn't make you the better player, and that happens more often than people want to admit.
Sometimes people get negative feedback, or how do I put it? False feedback. I don't know what the exact term for it would be, off of beating someone. You just made all the right reads, which is that's like if I play poker, I can play horribly by the numbers, and there can be a bad run. Someone can get a bad run, and I just get very lucky on the cards that come out on the flop and the river and the turn and all that, right? But the reason why Phil Ivey is who he is at the poker table, and I'm who I am, is because even if I get lucky this one time over the course of a few poker matches or tournaments, I'm gonna be dead broke and owing money for the loan I took out or something like that. Where Phil Ivey over the long run is gonna make a whole lot of money. So just like Phil